What is up? Good morning, y'all. Yancey here, coming to you live from my desktop. We got episode three of this desktop video series. We've got our run of show right here next to us. And today we're going to talk about roles, specifically the way that platforms and the expectations we have about being a creator, an audience, and so many other things shape our behavior and what we even think is possible. So for the past month, I've been working on this edit of my book with Josh Citarella called On the Creative Era. This is a 136-page book here in Word, and one of the chapters is about how to use platforms without them using you. And a lot of what we talk about are the way that platforms teach you certain modes of behavior. They normalize, standardize ways of behaving and acting that is often helpful for us as artists and creative people because it defines ways to be seen. But these can also be their own form of rut. And I got a sense of how this is affecting people last week when MetaLabel co-hosted an event with Mad Realities. They make some great TikTok shows. And together we brought together 30 TikTokers and other creators to talk about the state of the creative world today. And people talked about things like if it's not on TikTok, it didn't happen, or I'm a creator, but am I an artist? And people shared, wrote down post-it notes of what it was that they dreamed. And the thing that people most dreamed about, what came up over and over, was to make art beyond the algorithm, to not have to think about the market, to not make the work for the market, but instead to make the work for themselves. And what was striking were two things. Number one, this really felt like a dream that was almost out of reach to people. I think because of the financial precarity that so many of us are in, and just you got to play to the crowd. Otherwise, you're just risking too much. So that was the first thing that stood out. And the second was that their sense of freedom was about not being metriced. To escape the metrics was what would allow them to break free of sort of this role that they have to play as the TikTok creator. And people, we play these roles for very understandable reasons. I was part of another event hosted by Other Internet and Toby Shorin, which talked about the last 10 years of the web. And about 50, 20, and 30 somethings came together to talk about their experiences online over the past 10 years. And in particular, what drove us to get involved in the things that we did. And this whiteboard here shows all the things people wrote down. You would know everything on this list. But together we landed on these three eras of the internet we've moved through. This period from 2017 to 2020 that we called collective defection, which is opting out of the mainstream and going to Substack, Patreon, Dark Forest. Then there was this period, the COVID era of the big grift, which is just COVID and crypto. And finally, there's this current period that's about also crypto and AI and hype and scamming. And one attendee talked about how sort of the modus operandi of the world today is scam or be scammed. And it really revealed to what degree the roles we play are really set by the larger forces around us. Now, I've been thinking about this too, going back to our run of show, when thinking about what it means to be an audience. And today, it's interesting the thought of an audience. An audience used to be a very defined thing. You entered a room, there's a stage, you as the audience are defined, they as the performer are defined. Now an audience counts as, someone scrolling past your video without stopping on their phone while in line at checkout aisle. The audience is permanent, ever present. We are all simultaneously creator and audience. And also that line between the performer and the audience has just been blown out of the water. Now we have fanfic, we have remixes, we have React videos where someone else could make a remix of this and, recast it the whole thing. And these are things that audiences are always empowered to do now, always. And that honestly, as artists and creators, even if we have complicated feelings about it, we should kind of wish for it because that's how work tends to be spread, is people making it their own. And so these lines that we're used to of how things work, this is yet another example of how they are breaking down. But so the question is, in this world of roles and, what does it mean to do something different? Let's say you don't just want to follow the algorithm or you don't just want to follow the herd. What are ways to do that? Is that even possible? Does that just mean opting out and not participating at all? And no, the way that that looks at its biggest is world building. It's to devise an internal logic to your own world that no one else may not even know, but that defines the role that you inhabit. And it could be that this world is one that's specific to just when you're in your art practice, and it's a role you adopt, like is the case with the Beatles making Sgt. Pepper's, or the case with Sun Ra, who said he was from Saturn and had a whole story around his existence that allowed people to relate to him in a very specific way. But artists like this and characters like Sasha Fierce or many examples from the arts really show the power that exists in roles. And that while others might want to impose roles on us, we as artists and creative people, not only do we have the power to create roles for ourselves, but we can also do it for our audiences too. And we don't just have to follow along with what we're expected to do, but we can create the thing that others participate in that shows them maybe all the roles they're playing and not aware of. All right. Thank you for the brief stop here by my desktop. I gotta start getting ready for my day, but I'll see you again here very soon. Peace.